First of all, thanks a lot for being here and taking the time for this quick interview about you and how you've built your community at Sole Supplier. Maybe could you give us a quick intro of yourself and your company before we get into the whole community part of the interview?
Yeah, sure. So my name's George Sullivan, and I'm the owner and founder of the Sole Supplier, which is a platform, a website and app that helps over 3 million people each month find their next best pair of footwear. So we work with, anywhere from 80 to 100 retailers across Europe and worldwide. And we show you the latest and greatest shoes, trainers, sneakers, depending on where you're based. And we provide you live prices and availability, as well as high quality content to help you learn more and to help inform your decision when you're buying shoes.
Cool. Makes sense. I guess as a entrepreneur, to my first question would be, how did you get the idea? How did the company start?
Yeah, so this market, I mean, if you don't know about it, it's huge. It's going to be worth over 100 billion soon, the casual trainer market. So, I mean, it's not a small market anymore, but around 7 to 9 years ago, around 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, I really got the bug for collecting trainers. Like people collect watches, people collect handbags. I got the bug for collecting trainers. And it just so happened that some of the trainers I was collecting were worth more than you buy them for. So you buy them at, say, their retail price of £100, and then they're actually worth £150 as long as you don't wear them. And it's called dead stock, right? Dead stock means they're kept in the box and they're untouched. So now this market's also huge. The secondary trainer market is now worth like quite a few billion. I think it's like something like 10 billion right now. So crazy markets. And I got into this. I created this website off the back of knowledge I had from books. I wasn't in the industry. I had my first job in an SEO digital agency, which kind of inspired me to want to make my own website and get it ranking in Google. And then I combined this knowledge I had with my love of trainers, and then I tried to create this site to help people at the time, around 6 years ago, because there was a lot of people like me who wanted to find out where they could buy these shoes to collect them and also resell them. Yeah.
So at first, your website didn't necessarily sell anything. It was more like informative.
Exactly. So we don't sell anything, Quentin. That's the great thing. We are a content search and comparison tool. So we purely link you to all of the retailers that we work with. But so, there's loads of these retailers that sell these shoes, and it's a job to find out where they're all stocked. So that's where we come in.
Got it. Super clear. Okay, and if we move on to the community side, So would you say, I kind of have the answer to my question already, but would you say that basically community building for you guys started from day one, or is it something that you decided to focus more on later on in the creation of the company?
So at the time there was a forum called Nike Talk, and Nike Talk was just where people would discuss shoes and stuff. So you'd get involved in that forum, and then there were Facebook groups. So they were just starting around 6 years ago for sneakers. There were a few others, but this was like early days. So we actually started our Facebook group, which has we now got three actually. But we originally started a discussion group, which was about 9 months after the website launched. So like it was early, I've been doing the group stuff for like 5 years, and we've had people that have joined the business off the back of those groups that are full-time employees, and I've met people from those groups as well. So I've got to know a lot of people over the years, offline and online, through this community. So it's thriving, man. It's thriving.
I think what's really interesting is we actually had an interview with Harley Davidson a few weeks ago about their community, which is one of those pioneers that we were seeing, and they also mentioned the fact that we as TokyWoky are focusing communities mainly on clients, but recruiting and hiring through communities is also something they've been doing a lot of. Yeah. So I think at some point it won't be us because we're not focused on that yet, but someone has to look at building communities just for the sake of like recruiting people. Well, but anyways.
A lot of the smart recruiters are already doing that. They're already in LinkedIn communities. They're already in Facebook communities. Yeah, the thing is, you don't want it to get overrun by the recruiters, right? Because communities are what you're right. It's where the passion is. In the early days, I'd be talking in these communities all the time and reaching out to people and finding out stuff from people because that people are passionate. So you want to recruit from them, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I'm guessing at some point also in a company, you need some people that are less passionate about the topic so that they keep like kind of like a cool head on some of the topics. It's a bit of a mix,
good point. Yeah. Like, I don't, so our hiring criteria is going to be, values of the person and culture fit. And then it's going to be skills and then passion on top of that. Like that's an added bonus. Like if they're passionate about the industry, I love that. But, finding someone that's got the right values with the right skills and is passionate about trainers, you could be looking forever. But communities definitely help. Yeah.
Cool. So if we switch back maybe more on like your clients and the client communities that you guys have, especially I'm guessing those Facebook groups.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, what's a typical member like? And more precisely, why is one of those members joining the community? What do they really hope to get from it?
Yeah, so we've got two groups. One's called Rumors and News, the Sole Supplier Rumors and News. And that group talks about, as you can imagine, stuff that's coming out, shoes that are releasing, and if anyone's heard any news on the grapevine, any cool info that they can share. So that one's a discussion group. So someone would join that if they want to find out, they want to really get involved in the trainer community, and they want to talk trainers, they want to share images of stuff they might have bought. That's where the passion is. And then we've got the Sole Supplier Exchange, which is the buying and selling group. So people that want to sell their new pair of Yeezys through the Sole Supplier Exchange because there's a trusted community of people that may buy them. And people may join that group because you get better prices in these groups than you do from some of the online marketplaces. It's quite drastic, the difference. So StockX, which is a well-known online marketplace for secondary shoes, they're dead stock. They're brand new, but StockX, the prices are much higher on StockX compared to the Facebook groups. But then what you're getting with StockX is they're authenticating the pairs. They're actually checking them. So the risk is in Facebook groups, you might be getting a better price, but is it fake? Do you trust the person? So there's still that tricky thing with groups,
Makes sense. And would you say in the case of your two groups, so information group and then buy and sell group, would you say there's a large overlap?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely posts exchange between groups, and we direct members between them all the time. Shout out Emily Atkins, who heads up both of the groups really, and she actually works full time at the Sole Supplier, absolutely killing it. But she originally was just a member of one of the groups, and there's like a cross promotion between them. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure I understand the business model that well, so this might be a stupid question, but aren't you afraid that the buy and sell group could cannibalize part of what you guys are doing?
Well, not quite, because we show you where you can get your shoes at the retail price from all of these different retailers. We provide you the links to buy from the retailer. So the buy and sell groups really are for people that have bought their shoe and then they've either got it and it's second hand, or it's brand new and they want to make a profit on it. So they probably used the Sole Supplier previously. It doesn't actually interrupt our business model.
So really it's kind of an added service.
Yeah, and you know what as well? Even if something like a community does interrupt your business model, short term, perceived, I guarantee that long term it will build better authority and engagement in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also asking the question because this is a question we often get for clients, and we actually have this same feedback as you, which is the most important thing is that you have the attention of your target through these groups, and you can actually talk and listen. And being able to be that close to your clients and understanding what they want is long-term has to be a good calculation when it comes to like adapting to the market.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because if you created something that people remember, they're like, oh, that's the Sole Supplier group. That's where I met that person. That's where I got that shoe. It's brand affinity, you know?
Have you seen any changes in that community, in those Facebook groups, any adaptation with what has happened with the COVID in general?
Yeah, we've seen people talking more. Engagements are up around 30% in the groups because people are online. And we've just been creating more general discussions, light-hearted discussions, polls as well, just polling the audience, finding out what they like, what they don't like. Keeping it light-hearted is important, and keeping it authentic. So, in times of need, people want authentic voices, and you can do that in the groups. You can be a face behind your content, which is important.
So really, yeah, as with many, it's what we've seen with many brands that did have that engagement, that contact with their community, you've basically seen a rise in engagement over this period because people have more time. And I'm guessing a great way to pass the time when you're locked at home is sharing with other people about your passion. So not a surprise, I guess, here.
Exactly, yeah.
You talked about Emily before, who we've actually talked to. I guess the most global question for me behind that is what are the resources behind the community for you guys on brand level?
Really depends what you want out of your group. If I was going to answer this, like if you were asking me and I was consulting on groups, I would say that it depends what you want out of it. We've got what I would call like a mid-level amount of resources for the group, which is we've got 2 of our team that post in the group in-house. And then we've also got a team of moderators that are closely connected to our in-house people. So, and I just want to shout them out, George, Ashley, Ed, as well as Jack. We've got a few people that moderate the groups, and that's mid-level. But you could go harder with that. You could say like have 4 people creating content in the groups. One guy could create the polls. One girl could create the imagery. Someone could create the posts. Someone could be live streaming in the groups twice a week. There's a lot you can do in them. And there's a lot you can get back, but it depends on the level because it's quite hard to measure what you get back.
Yeah, so I guess that was my next question. Is basically how do you track? How do you make sure that short, mid, long-term return that you're going to get from those groups is higher than the amount of people that work on them?
I say that you shouldn't always be trying to do things for the short-term gain financially. Like, it's all about, if you know that something feels right and it feels like you're connecting with people in the right way, then you should go after it. And for me, the community it feels right. It feels like we should do more of it. And it gets people talking. So I'm not too interested in measuring it. We do measure some stuff in terms of like link tracking and when we post content in there. And we're open with people about that. We've got that in the terms. We say, look, we do use affiliate links sometimes in these groups. But that's not all we use the groups for at all. For me, it's just a great community that we need to harness.
I'm guessing you guys are using Instagram to a large extent also?
Yeah. We've got, across the Sole Women's and the Sole Supplier, we've got 1 million followers now. So we finally hit 1 million, which is cool. And yeah, we get a really good lot of engagement. And the reason is, I don't like to call Instagram a community because a community to me is something where everyone's equal in the sense of there's not a brand posting content and all the comments under it. That's not really community to me. That's brand-led. That's a brand-led platform, or that's an individual-led platform. I guess there's community though, because some people call Instagram a community. But I'm saying that we've got a good community on there. We've got a great lot of people that we always see commenting. And the reason is because we talk back to them, we engage with them. Because that's what this is all about. You've got to be social. You've got to be replying. You don't have to, but you're not going to get much back if you're not being social on social.
It's a good point. I think one thing you're touching on that we often speak about when we talk about community is sometimes when people go for community, they focus on what their community can give them. And to me, one thing that people keep telling us and that we keep seeing is that any community that works is based on the brand, in case of brand communities, giving first. And you have to have that logic that you have to offer something for free to your clients. And then based on that, you'll potentially get something back. Is it a logic that you're seeing too on your side?
Well, if you think about it, the Sole Supplier and the Sole Women's, it's a completely free to use platform. Everything we do is free. You, as the user, you do not pay anything extra. So everything we're giving you is free. And the way that we earn our money is through a small commission from the retailers when we refer business per sale. Yeah. So like that, we are the ultimate example of that. Offer everything you can of value to your audience and then see what happens. And that's why we built an authority, but that can't be the model for everyone because people need to monetize their businesses. People need to make money. But in the early days, for 6 months or 7 months, I didn't make any money when I was originally building it. It took around 7 months before we started earning our first affiliate money. And it was all about just content and giving. Yeah.
Yeah, and so same thing. There was no short-term return investment at that point. But again, I mean, instinctively, I'm guessing you knew you were doing something right just because you were seeing that traction and engagement.
100%, yeah.
If you were to advise someone on who they should hire to run their community, what should they look for?
You need to hire someone that's really empathetic and someone that you can just get on with. Someone that's so approachable, someone that is that person that gets on with everybody, that understands people more than anyone else, that can sense when someone's unhappy, that can understand when there's a bad situation that needs fixing, that basically thinks about people's emotions and people a lot more than others. That's the perfect person for a community because they understand how to handle disputes. They understand how to appeal to people. They understand what people are looking for because they're thinking about that all the time. That's important to me. That's what I would look for, number one. What about you?
Well, to be honest, we've had a community manager at TokyWoky for the global community of people that answer questions on our chat. Yeah. And I think that is a very accurate description of what she's like.
Nice.
I would say first quality by far is empathy. So agreed on that side. And I think the trick would be the trap, would be to actually hire someone who's maybe more into numbers and that same thing around tracking and because that someone that's impatient, because the way when I see her doing her work, there's a lot of patience, a lot of listening, and so it's specifically a place where you don't have to look at exactly measure how you're spending your time, but you really have to just make sure everyone's happy to some extent.
Oh, yeah, patience is important. Yeah.
In terms of tech, when it comes to community, are you only using tech linked to like social network? Have you developed any own tech when it comes to your community?
Actually, like one of our developments over the next 6 months is going to be integrating the community more into the site and the app. So we're really excited about that.
Anything you can share on that, like the kind of developments or how you can potentially make it social?
Not just yet, because this one's quite an interesting one and I don't want to reveal too much. But yeah, I think that something that a lot of brands miss, including us, is that you've got a great community on, let's say, Facebook and Instagram, a Facebook group and an Instagram community, again. But you want to get that onto your site or your app. You want to show people when they download the app, look, our community is thriving. We've got all these different people in our community that love trainers. Where is that in the app? Where is that in the website? Can I see that? If you can't, you're missing out. Because when people see that straight away, it's social proof, firstly, and that will engage your new customers better, and it's also just great for retention as well. If you've got a community that you display, so we know how important that is.
Yeah, to some extent, you're like I think the English expression is you're like preaching to the choir. On that. I mean, obviously that's our whole, what we're doing with the community platform in general. And our whole idea is to turn websites into community. But I think, a lot of, I mean, reviews, I'm getting you must have some.
Yeah.
On the website. So reviews would be one way to do it. With one big fashion brand, we started doing like, I don't know if I mentioned it to you earlier, but it was styles. So basically we're allowing the community to create combinations of products and showing directly on product pages what the community could, or how the community would style it and stuff like that. And we're already seeing great numbers in that, because as you say, there's that element of social proof and trust that having your community on your website immediately kind of boosts, I guess, to some extent.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's displaying stuff that people wear. It's cool. We've got that in the pipeline, actually.
Cool. And all that is like internal on your side?
Yeah.
Cool. When it comes to your tech team, do you do your own tech in-house?
Yes.
And basically, do you feel that today these guys have the allow you to actually take the website where you want to take it in terms of community? Do you think it's sufficient?
What, in-house?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, because, this isn't just like, we can hire the right people at this point. And if we've got an idea, we can make it happen in-house. And the reason being is, just through my experience over the past 8 years, I like the control. I think it's more cost effective. You get a better product in-house, and there's longevity there. What you get out of house is, there's some great companies I work with out of house. Don't get me wrong, I do. That is true. But for tech, I like to keep it in-house as much as possible. Yeah.
I think it's a good point when sometimes a prospect or client ask us, how they should go about building their community. I often end up saying, you should go with us and work with us in our community platform, unless you've got the tech and the resources in-house to build your own community. Yeah. Because, I mean, you might need consulting, you might need people to help, but a community project is not something like you start on day one, you've got 45 days, at the end you put it on your website and it's over. It's something that's going to keep moving during all these years of your business and evolving. And if you don't have the tech in-house to make it evolve, then to some extent, you're not going to be able to adapt it as much as you want. So if you actually have that, I think it's a good idea.
I think what it is I just think there's a concern with out of house that, where do we go after the initial implementation, especially when it comes to, let's say, building a website, which is different to implementing a community solution. It's like, what do you do after that as a business that's had that built for them? Because like the company that you used for that tech might change. And no doubt your in-house people could leave, or if they're a contractor, they might get another job. That's risky too. But you've got, again, a bit more control about the in-house solution. And I think what people want is confidence that the company that built the solution for them isn't going anywhere, and that they've got an ongoing package to support them as they want to develop their tech. And the company that they're using for the say community platform isn't going to be too busy to then serve their needs, or that rates aren't going to go up considerably, or, there's all these questions. So that's what I think. If you can solve those things and you can say, this is what we're going to do, this is what it's going to look like for the year after, this is how much it could cost depending on what level of service you need, we can help you develop your, you see what I mean? Like it's yeah.
Commercially, this is exactly where we are with TokyWoky. And I mean, this is a change, because for us, the original idea was create a piece of tech that we could just put on any website, and then we wouldn't have to handle it, because we were very much into tech and product. And then we started building communities with users, and we discovered that we ended up knowing a lot of stuff about what works and what doesn't, and that in itself had value. And the second thing we discovered is that it was a lot of fun, like being experts on a topic, knowing that, having people trust you with that. And so our whole model today is really shifting towards that kind of company that we don't really know how to call, but it's somewhere between a tech company, because we got our tech and we want to control the tech, but also a consulting company that basically takes the clients that we think have great community potential from like this to here in terms of community. And so, as you're saying, I mean, I was doing that this morning, is thinking with the client of how can I reassure them in terms of business model that will be, first of all, it'll be the same kind of prices, it'll be the same kind of support, and how can we make sure that everyone's safe on here. And so I think it's a great point you make, and I wish I had thought about it 6 months ago, but now I know about it, and that's how the company is really turning. I actually have two last questions, more like opening up. I guess the first one is, you've got that idea of building your community. Do you benchmark? Do you look at other brands? Are there other people that you follow that inspire you when it comes to business and community?
When it comes to community, obviously Reddit. I look at Reddit a lot, which I can type in any topic and then Reddit after it and find the thread for it, because I like to get an understanding of what people are talking about around that topic, because that's authentic. You know, Google is censoring content more than ever. YouTube is censoring content more than ever. This shit is boring. Don't censor content. I want to see real content from real people. So that's why community is great. So that's why forums like the Money Saving Expert, Reddit, and I go on a few other forums as well, just to see what people are talking about. That's where it's at. Community, it's authentic.
Yeah, same thing. There's something about Reddit that's really refreshing.
Yeah,
that way. I agree. Imagine, you come in and talk to a brand that's somewhere on your sector or a different sector, but tells you, we want to start with community. When is the right time, and what should we start with? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would ask the owner or the senior team, are you satisfied in your job currently? And you're going to be like, what? And if they say yes, I'll be like, well, how do you get your satisfaction? And they're going to be like, well, our product works and customers are happy. And I'm going to be like, so have you got a community? And they'll say no. And then I'll say, well, if you want even more satisfaction and understanding about your product and to connect with the people that are part of your product, a community is where it's at. You'll be happier as the business owner, purely for that selfish reason as a business owner, right? Get a community so you can understand what people are talking about around your product. But then I'd also say to them, well, it's a great way to connect with others. If you're passionate about the industry, I'd also ask them, are you passionate? Do you love the industry? Like, I love trainers. Then it means that I can see and talk to people that are passionate. And that's satisfaction, that's happiness. You can get happiness from community. There's a lot in it. It's satisfaction and passion and everything, all these great things.
I might steal some of those quotes from you in later calls. I think it's a very good point. I completely agree that the profound reason that people that are using our platform are happy about it is that I can feel when we talk to them about the community, about the exchanges, the connections they make, it makes them happy. It gives a lot more purpose to their job to some extent. Yeah. So I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, people are worried about resources and how long it takes. You can set up a Facebook group in 5 minutes, and Facebook groups are still really powerful. And then you can get a couple of moderators from your team and ask them to create 2 posts each a week, which take 5 minutes each. That is minimal.
Yeah. Quick question, by the way, just out of curiosity, when you talk about moderators, how much time would you say they spend moderating in the Facebook groups?
Not a lot, man. They're quite. I'd have to get an answer for you on that, but it's not something that's ever been flagged as like this is taking a long time, because they're kind of self-moderated. People that, it's not like we're getting thousands of people join a day and you can't control it. We let the groups grow organically, which again, if you're trying to think about resource and time, you don't need to, because groups are meant to be organic. Communities are meant to be organic things, that you're not meant to like put a load of paid ads to get people to your community, because they're going to get full of people that don't really want to be there. You're not meant to run big competitions to get people to join your community, because you're going to get the wrong sort of people. They grow organically. They don't need much time and resource. You just need to drop a few little pointers here or there, and it will grow organically. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's part of the strategy that we always give. And I think, again, a little point that you touched on, but that is key, is basically how do you get a community to grow quickly? To what extent can you use contests and stuff like that? How do you make sure that when you do reward great contributions, you're not basically just getting gold diggers in your community, which will leave in the next 2 weeks? And when I was talking about community expertise, that's the whole thing we've been learning about. And that's, I think, is incredibly interesting no matter what industry you work in, is that when you understand what your customer wants, not in terms of product, but just in terms of like discussions, what they like to talk about, the kind of people they like to meet, then you've got all you need to start growing a business, a community, and then potentially put a business on top of it.
Yeah.
But I think
I've seen businesses launch off the back of communities, and I've seen communities launch off the back of businesses. So, I've seen some really successful businesses launch from like Facebook trainer groups. I've seen a few of those actually. Shout out Collar, who runs Dropout Milano and was one of the early players in the Yeezy Mafia Twitter account and team. But that all that stuff was off Facebook groups.
Yeah, same thing. And the one everyone's talking about in the beauty industry is I don't know if you know Glossier. Glossier is basically this woman who started to do a blog about the way she thought and she felt about beauty. And next thing you know, 5 years later, they're a $1 billion company because they're basically just creating the products that people actually want. Nice. And just running off of all those blog discussions they had all together and what was wrong with the industry today and what they wanted to change. So I think it's yours and hers are very impressive business models.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Well, anyway, thanks a lot for your time. It was, as I expected, super interesting to talk with you again. All right, well, thanks a lot again, George, and have a great day.
Nice one, everyone. Thank you.